Since President Ulysses S. Grant first signed the bill into law in 1872, the United States National Park System has grown to over 84 million acres of woods and mountains and deserts and wilderness. With all of this protected area, it has become the premier location for strange occurrences, whether it be monsters or other strange beings stalking hikers and campers in the woods alike. Individuals or even groups are vanishing mysteriously, never to be found again, along with other noises and events that will send shivers up many spines. The national parks are like no other when it comes to the unexplained, and Mount Shasta is no exception. Mount Shasta is a potentially active volcano located in California and is home to some very unique legends. The Shasta Trinity National Forest is where this volcano, Mount Shasta, calls itself home. The native people who call the mountain home believed that Mount Shasta was the focal point of all life in creation. Others believe it to be our planet's central position of spiritual vitality. Mount Shasta is also said to be inhabited by the spirit of Chief Skell, who is said to have descended himself from heaven to the mountain summit. Lao, the spirit of the below world, as they call it, who resides at Mount Mazama, was defeated by Skell by flinging hot boulders and lava, which represented the volcanic eruptions at both summits. Another tale has it that a British prospector named J.C. Brown discovered a forgotten underground metropolis beneath Mount Shasta in 1904 while exploring through the area. He had been employed by the Lord Cowdray Mining Company of England to seek out gold and riches, and while doing so, he discovered a cave that sloped downward for 11 miles containing the treasures he was seeking. He discovered an underground settlement brimming with wealth, shields, and mummies while exploring the area. He also claimed to have witnessed a mysterious 10-foot-tall entity. Approximately 30 years later, he had recounted his experiences to a John C. Root, who used the information to then form an exploratory team in Stockton, California. About 80 or so people would sign up to be on the squad, but Brown did not show up on the day the team was supposed to leave. He was never seen or heard from after that. In fact, A Dweller on Two Planets was written by a writer named Frederick Spencer Oliver and was published in 1899. Now, according to the book, survivors from a sunken continent known as Lemuria were either living in or on Mount Shasta at the time of the writing. These people, known as Lemurians, lived beneath the mountain in a complex network of tunnels and were occasionally seen roaming the surface of the mountain, dressed in these clean, almost holy white robes. Harvey Spencer Lewis, writing under the alias Wisher S. Serve, published a book in 1931 about the secret Lemurians of Mount Shasta. It was regarded as responsible for the legend's enormous appeal on Mount Shasta. Numerous occult religions like I Am activity, the Summit Lighthouse, Church Universal, Triumphant, and Cryon have adopted this doctrine as their foundation. The mountain is also no stranger to its share of unexplainable events, and in 1931, a massive fire engulfed the forest at the base of the mountain, sweeping upwards. Suddenly, an unusual fog appeared, stopping the flames in their tracks. Even more bizarre was the fact that the fire stopped directly on the line of the central time zone. And many locals near the mountain have also reported seeing what they claim to be large aliens or other extraterrestrials watching them all from a distance. It is even believed by some that the mountain is a portal to the fifth dimension and a power resource base for alien vehicles. Some have also linked the detection of these large visitors to a legend of the native Karuk people, the Big People, who are said to be superhumans and the reason for many of the strange incidents that occur at or near Mount Shasta. Let me take a moment to say that if you want an awesome custom jersey just like this, you can go ahead and visit DIYOJ in the description below and enter the code WLB2022 for a 10% off discount code. Santa Fe National Forest, inaugurated on July 1st, 1915 by the United States Forest Service, with altitudes ranging from 5,300 feet to 13,000 feet at the highest of the peak, located within the Pecos Wilderness. It is here that strange, inexplicable wooden constructions. Some of the structures appear to be rudimentary, teepee-like structures that could be used for shelter. Others appear to be solid cones of wood, having been spontaneously appearing all throughout the wilderness. Each of these is reportedly constructed over 1,000 pieces of wood from fallen trees and tree limbs, ranging in size. some even being over 20 feet tall with a diameter of 12 feet. There's no clue as to who is building these structures and why they're being built, or even how they're being built. This is partly due to the large pieces most likely needing some kind of machinery to move and place in position. Now, there are many worker protests that these structures claiming that they could cause and or fuel forest fires, and that the fire hazards these structures create, as well as their stability, are very concerning to many authorities. They believe that if these structures were to fall or collapse while people are near, there could be severe injuries. It has also been said that anybody caught constructing these could be fined up to $5,000 or spend time in jail for up to 6 months. It's even taken so seriously that crews will work tirelessly to take down the structures, but they seem to be built just as quickly as they are dismantled. Many different ideas circulate about what these structures are and why they are being built. The most common theory being that they are the work of a cult that uses the constructions for ceremonial functions. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park is a national park in the United States. Kilauea, one of the world's most active volcanoes, and Mauna Loa, the world's most enormous shield volcano, are both parts of the park. The scientists can learn about the evolution of the Hawaiian Islands and conduct research at the park. For visitors, the park offers extraordinary volcanic environments, glimpses of rare flora and fauna, and a view into the traditional Hawaiian culture linked to these scenes. Established on August 1st, 1916, Hawaii National Park was eventually divided into this park and Haleakala National Park. In acknowledgement of its exceptional natural standards, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park was allocated as an International Biosphere Reserve in 1980 and a World Heritage Site in 1987. This national park is known for not just its beauty, but also an area of superstition and mystery. You see, on March 27th, 1998, a blue eruption of light ignited the night sky, along with a huge thunderous roar. Hundreds of locals called to report the event, as did a pilot who was in flight at the time. The pilot alleged that the fireball came within 2 miles of this aircraft, and he observed a dramatic increase in the temperature in the area. The pilot's testimony was endorsed by others in the place with him, and officials afterward declared that the blast was nothing more than a meteor. However, that doesn't sit right. Some Hawaiian locals were not convinced. They claimed that the blast observed by so many was surely a sign of an Hawaiian god who had been awakened now and who was now enraged with what humankind was doing to the world. In fact, a Newswatch bulletin taken from that day reads this: "A brilliant light gives night owls a rare treat. Islanders who happened to be up at 2:41 a.m. today were treated to a spectacular light show in the sky. I wish I'd seen it," said Bishop Museum Planetarium manager Peter McCod, who was asleep and missed it. "It was probably a once-in-a-lifetime to see." But what exactly was it? From talking to people who saw it and called the planetarium, McCod said it sounds like the light might have been a fireball or maybe a bright meteor. On the other hand, it could have been a piece of space junk, he said. A piece of satellite or discarded rocket element. It's hard to tell. In fact, it was so bright and people did see different colors too. Sometimes that's indicative of space junk because of the different metals used in spacecraft. Now, police dispatchers on Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island, and the planetarium security guards and radio stations all received a ton of calls about the mysterious light. On Oahu, callers described it as a bluish purple. On the Big Island, where the calls came in the most from all districts, police said the light made the night sky as bright as day. The Coast Guard even said it appeared to be a large meteor traveling through the sky. And while sporadic meteors, remnants of the solar system, are common, but to have one happen overhead when you happen to be looking up is pretty rare for an average individual. This is one of many odd events that have occurred on the island of Hawaii, because various tourists have removed rocks from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park and then sent them back. They sent them back claiming that the unusual incidents had taken place when they arrived home with the rocks. Many believe that they had been cursed for stealing the rocks from their home. Others have stated that they had too been confronted by spirits while exploring the island late at night, as well as seeing a mysterious mist in the distance. Located in Washington County near West Fork, Arkansas, the Devil's Den State Park is a 2,500-acre state park with a variety of activities. The Civilian Conservation Corps began work on the park in 1933 and completed it fully in 1937. Devil's Den State Park is located in the Lee Creek Valley of the Boston Mountains, which, again, are located in the southwestern part of the Ozarks and are home to the Boston Mountain Zoo. In fact, It is open year-round for recreation and includes trails for hiking, mountain biking, horseback riding, as well as an 8-acre lake built by the Civilian Conservation Corps. Along with several picnic areas, a swimming pool, and cabins, the Devil's Den State Park offers a variety of camping options ranging from modern to rustic. At Devil's Den State Park, all sorts of fossils can be found along the banks of Lee Creek and within the creek itself. In 1946, a family that was vacationing at Devil's Den State Park when their 8-year-old daughter went missing suddenly. The girl was gone, seemingly disappeared for 6 days until she was finally found in a cave about 30 miles away from where she vanished. When searchers had actually found the little girl, they were completely taken aback by her calm and unfazed demeanor. She even walked out of the cave, announcing to the people, "Here I am." When she was looked over, there were no signs of harm on the little girl, even though she was clad in nothing but a bathing suit and somehow, miraculously, traveled 30 miles in a nearly week-long period. Many have asked the question, how? Did she somehow disappear and end up so far away? It doesn't make sense. Some have theorized that she had been chased, causing her to run away from where her family was camped. Some have suggested a creature like Bigfoot may have been to blame for this, but it cannot be proved. No matter what the reasoning was, there was something strange happening in Devil's Lake Den during that time. The Battle of Gettysburg was a battle during the American Civil War that took place on July 1st through the 3rd, 1863, and became known as the bloodiest battle in American history. Over those 3 brutal days, 2 great armies battled over the future of the United States, resulting in over 50,000 killed, wounded, and missing. In fact, the battle was so great that scars from clash are still visible to visitors today. With all the pain and suffering, it is no wonder that Gettysburg National Military Park is constantly one of the most haunted places in the world. With hundreds of reported paranormal sightings and experiences being reported annually, as a matter of fact, these sightings have been anything from people believing to be watching reenactors, with one soldier even coming to hand off cartridges only to simply vanish. Later, the cartridges were examined and soon proved to be actual Civil War issued cartridges from 1863. Yet another story involves a shoeless being that has been known to approach travelers and provide them with useful information about what they need and where they need to go. It is believed that this ghost is the spirit of a Confederate Texas soldier who had died during the Civil War. He has been photographed as far back as the 1970s. Even in shots that did not identify him at the time the pictures were taken. One narrative tells of a woman who became disoriented while navigating the rugged terrain of a battle site right near Little Round Top and had to call for help. She looked about frantically for a way out of the area, and when a man appeared out of nowhere, he pointed to a far location and stated, "What you're looking for is over there." Then he had vanished without a trace. The woman later informed park authorities of what had occurred, and when they inquired as to the man's appearance, she simply gave a very accurate description of what a Confederate Texas soldier would have looked like at the time. There have also been claims of a poltergeist known as the Ghost Rider roaming the same battlefield, which has been linked to the conflict himself. He will supposedly emerge out of nowhere, accompanied by the sounds of gunfire and yelling, and then leave as fast as he had appeared, leaving no trace of his whereabouts or identity behind. While the Jenny Wade house is also often referred to as America's most haunted house, it was actually where one of the lone civilian casualties occurred during the Battle of Gettysburg. Jenny Wade, who was a resident of the dwelling, was struck by a stray bullet while she was standing in her kitchen baking, supposedly. Wade, who died on the first day of the fight, is supposed to be roaming the house with several children. Now, according to legend, when on the second level of the house, visitors may or may not hear loud bangs and the innocent voice of a little child, as well as experiencing sudden rushes of cold air in their faces. Others have even described the feeling of arms of the small children grasping their legs as they walked. The Sachs-covered bridge, which is a beautiful reminder of a bygone era in Pennsylvania, may well be one of the most haunted locations in all of Gettysburg. Now, according to local legend, the bridge, which was crossed by the fleeing Confederate army, is also believed to have been the location of the public hanging of 3 army deserters. Those who have also visited the bridge have told stories of seeing apparitions and smelling cigar smoke hearing voices and feeling a touch when no one else is around them. In addition, it has also been reported that there are spirits that continue to inhabit the Gettysburg Hotel, which served as a hospital during the Civil War. Rachel, who worked as a nurse during the horrific days of the Battle of Gettysburg, has been known to explore the rooms, rummage through guest drawers and luggage, and wheel carts around the lodge with reckless abandonment. The ghost of a Union soldier who died in the hospital is frequently seen wandering the halls of the hotel as well. Gettysburg College also acted as a field hospital for both sides all throughout the fight, giving the college a reputation for being haunted by ghosts for years on after. The most horrific of these tales actually might be traced back to the early 20th century. Two college employees entered an elevator, pushed the button for the floor they desired, and then waited for the elevator to arrive. The elevator, on the other hand, had different plans and actually took them directly down below to the basement. When the elevator doors opened, these women were greeted by a horrific Civil War operating room where doctors worked to save the lives of injured and dying soldiers. And suddenly, the elevator began to move them up to a higher floor as a ghostly doctor approached them from the room. The two employees, who were escorted by a security guard, returned to the basement a few minutes later, only to discover there was nothing unusual. No one seems to be able to give a genuine explanation for all the strange things happening at Gettysburg, but it seems that the ghost of the Confederate and the Union Army may have never left the battlefield. The Grand Canyon National Park is one of the most well-known and visited state parks in the United States, if not the entire globe. This national park, located in northwestern Arizona, is the 15th location in the United States to be designated as one. It was established in 1872, and the Grand Canyon, a chasm formed by the Colorado River, is the park's most prominent feature and is even sometimes referred to as one of the 7 natural wonders of the modern world. It is the second most visited national park in the United States after the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, with more than a whopping 6 million recreational visitors every single year. The park encompasses well over 1 million acres of unincorporated land in Mojave counties. This national park was announced as a World Heritage Site by United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organizations in 1979. The park is well known for its incredible and beautiful views, as well as the mysteries and stories that surround it. The Hopi, one of the tribes that lived in the area at the time, believed in a god named Masawu, which translates as skeleton man, was the spirit of death, earth god, a gatekeeper to the fifth world, and the keeper of fire in the ancient world. Now, besides that, he served as a master of the upperworld, also known as the fourth world. He was present when decent people fled the evil of the third world in search of the promise of the fourth world. It is portrayed as wearing a dreadful mask, yet in another example of the Hopi's multiplicity of beliefs, Masawu was either described as a gorgeous, bejeweled man beneath his mask or a bloodthirsty, fearsome creature beneath the mask. He is also endowed with a number of benevolent characteristics, and according to one legend, it was Masawu who assisted the Hopi in settling Oribe and granting them stewardship over the area. He had also warned them to be on the lookout for the arrival of the Pahana, also known as the Lost White Brother. Legend has it that the Masaw lived in the canyon, and he is the reason for many reports of mysterious lights coming up from the canyon during the night, or even the sounds of knocking on rocks. It is said that if you see or hear these events, the Keeper of Death is coming for you. Many see this as a nonsensical or ancient tribe, but others have reported the feeling of nausea and anxiety soon after witnessing these same events. The specific area that Masaw is said to be located is in a relatively level area of the park, yet many accidents have occurred there. The great state of Washington is home to the Olympic National Park, a national park of the United States dedicated to conservation and recreation. The park is divided into 4 geographical regions: the Pacific coastline, the alpine areas, temperate and rainforest on the west side, and the forest on the drier east side. There are 3 distinct ecosystems within the park, including a subalpine forest and a wildflower meadow, a temperate forest, and the rugged Pacific coast. Mount Olympus National Monument was established by President Theodore Roosevelt on March 2, 1909, and is in fact the oldest national monument in the United States. Now, it was on June 29, 1938, that Congress and President Franklin D. Roosevelt officially redesignated the monument as a national park. The Olympic National Park, designated as an international biosphere reserve by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization in 1976, and as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1981. As part of the Olympic Wilderness designation in 1988, Congress had designated 95% of the park, which equates to around 1,300 square miles. The Olympic Wilderness was renamed the Daniel J. Evans Wilderness in 2017 in honor of former Governor and U.S. Senator Daniel J. Evans. When he was a member of the Senate, Evans was one of the sponsors of the 1988 bill that established the state's wilderness areas. It is the state's largest wilderness area by land area. In late January of 2018, the 100 of the forest trees were mysteriously and forcibly uprooted and knocked over. At the time, many professionals believed it was due to a powerful windstorm or weather-related incident, but no weather statistics showed anything that powerful had happened during this time frame. And to add to the mystery, the night right before, many visitors to the area had claimed to hear loud rumblings echoing through the forest. With this information, it was then theorized that perhaps an earthquake or a landslide had occurred, though no evidence surfaced to back it up. It was reported that some trees had been completely uprooted and thrown on their sides, while other trees were only tipped, leaning, and some broken. To this day, there's been no exact reason found for the cause of these trees to have fallen, though there have been some ideas. Some believe it may have been a large creature or herd of creatures, while some believe it may have been the work of extraterrestrials or their spacecraft. The mystery ultimately remains unsolved. The Yosemite National Park is located in California and is bordered on the southeast by the Sierra National Forest and the northwest. The park, which is managed by the National Park Service, spans almost 760,000 acres and is located in 4 counties. It is known for its beautiful granite cliffs, waterfalls, clear streams, huge sequoia groves, lakes, mountains, meadows, glaciers, and ecological richness. Almost the entirety of the park is just a vast wilderness, and Yosemite is one of the Sierra Nevada's largest and least fragmented habitat blocks, supporting a massive diverse range of plants and animals. In fact, approximately half of California's 7,000 plant species are found in the Sierra Nevadas. It was here in this majestic area of the United States that on the evening of September 19, 2002, a disc-like unidentified flying object was reportedly seen in the sky. There were numerous reports taken of the event, with some onlookers even getting video footage of this UFO. It was only a short time later that the object disappeared and that the United States Air Force aircraft was seen in the area. Though they circled the area where the UFO had been reported multiple times, the pilots were unable to find what so many people had seen and gotten video of. Some of these videos taken are views of some of the best UFO footage ever taken. This event in September of 2002 is one of the many that have been reported in Yosemite. Many park goers have claimed to have witnessed a strange light hovering and flying throughout the night skies. Many experts have dismissed the idea of extraterrestrials and UFOs, saying that what people are seeing is most likely optical illusions or even meteors streaking through the night. To date, many believe these events have never been properly investigated, leading many to cling on to the idea of aliens visiting Yosemite. Death Valley National Park is located east of the Sierra Nevadas and connects the California-Nevada boundary. The park protects part of the Mojave Desert and its diversified environment of salt flats, sand dunes, badlands, valley canyons, and mountains, which lie on the border between the arid Great Basin and the Mojave Deserts. The park is the largest in the southern United States, as well as the hottest, driest, and lowest park in the country. Badwater Basin is the second lowest point in the Western Hemisphere and the lowest in North America. A designated wilderness area covers more than 93% of the park in total. From as early as 7000 BC, a number of Native American tribes have lived in the area, the most recent being the Timbisha, who have traveled between winter camps in the valleys and summer grounds in the highlands around 1000 AD. Even though just one person died there, a group of European Americans stranded in the valley in 1849 while hunting for a shortcut to California's goldfields gave the valley its name. Due to the vast and barren area, Death Valley is a known spot for people losing their way and going missing. One very hot day, nearly 120 degrees Fahrenheit in July of 1996, 4 tourists from Germany went missing in Death Valley. The last place they were known to be was a small ghost town where they both signed a visitor's book. They wrote, "We are going through the pass." Authorities assumed that the foreigners meant the Mengele Pass when the tourists missed their flight home. German authorities had been alerted, and on August 14th, the Germans were officially reported missing. The van that they had rented was found abandoned on October 23rd with 3 flat tires. Nothing of note was found in the vehicle. No wallets, no passports, nothing of any real significance. This led many who were following the story to believe that the Germans had possibly been kidnapped. And nothing of note happened in the investigation for well over 20 years until 2009, where human skeletal remains were found in Death Valley. Though the remains were never officially identified, local authorities on the case claim that they were fairly certain that the bones were that of the Germans that had gone missing in 1996. 2009 was the last update to the case, and it is still a mystery that has not been officially solved. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a national park located in Tennessee and North Carolina in the southeast United States. This park encompasses the Great Smoky Mountain Ridgeline, which is a part of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which are part of the broader Appalachian Mountains. The park's core is divided by the border between the two states, which runs northeast to southwest. On its way from Georgia to Maine, the Appalachian Trail passes through the park's heart. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the most visited national park in the United States, nearly capping out at 14 million people every single year. And with over 500,000 acres, is anyone surprised? The park also protects a number of historical structures that once belonged to communities of the early European American settlers in the area. The park was established by the United States Congress in 1934 and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He dedicated it in the 1940s. This was also the first national park to receive federal funding for land and other costs, while other parks were entirely funded by the state or private donations. This national park is the focal point of a thriving tourism sector in this section of Tennessee which borders the park. The park is unfortunately known for many disappearances all throughout its existence, and one of the more notorious was the case of Dennis Martin. In 1969, a then 6-year-old Dennis and his family were on a hiking trip in the Smoky Mountains, and Dennis, along with his 3 brothers, planned to spook their parents by hiding and then jumping out as they walked by. While Dennis went on one way to hide and his brothers went another as the parents walked past, becoming victims of their kid's prank, only the 3 brothers emerged. Dennis was nowhere to be found. The family then began to frantically search for the boy, calling Dennis's name but to no avail. And soon an entire search party was called in to help in finding the boy. Dennis was never found. Many speculate that he was kidnapped or even dragged off by a wild animal, but there's been no proof to establish these assumptions. Dennis had vanished without leaving a single trace of what had happened to him. Even today, nobody knows what happened to poor Dennis Martin over 50 years ago. Though he is presumed dead by most authorities, sadly, this case of missing persons is only one of several to take place in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, be sure to go ahead and smack that like button. Also leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts on the video. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to go ahead and subscribe and keep your notifications on for more outstanding content. As always guys, I love y'all, keep an open mind, and I'll see you guys in the next video.